Today we are seeing Standard 12 Secretarial Practice Chapter 2, that is Transfer and Transmission of Shares. In the previous chapter we had seen about how the shares are allotted, how shares are forfeited and how calls are made, etc. And in this chapter we will be seeing about share transfer and transmission of shares. So firstly, in the introduction itself, they have explained how the company was formed. So let's go through the introduction once. So what they are saying basically is initially there was only a simple form of enterprise, that was the sole proprietorship. In sole proprietorship, what was happening? We only had one owner, one person who will look after everything. There were some disadvantages to sole proprietorship, so the concept of partnership firm was born. Because of the disadvantages of partnership firm, then company was born. So, what was the disadvantages of sole proprietorship? Firstly, there is only one owner. So, one person can bring only a limited amount of money. So, there will be only limited capital. And because the capital is very limited, so the opportunity to grow the business also becomes limited. Next is because there is only one person, so he may have expertise in only one field. You cannot expect one person to know about everything. So suppose there is an enterprise, there is a sole proprietorship firm business, which is he is in the business of creating or manufacturing machineries. So it is possible that the owner may be a good engineer. He may have knowledge of engineering, but it is not necessary that he has knowledge of accounting and other financial aspects. So there is a restriction on the growth of company because he may not be able to manage the financial aspect properly. So here is born the partnership firm. In partnership firm, 2-3 owners are involved. So the capital which each owner will bring, they will pool the capital, and then the amount of the money, the amount of the available capital will be more as compared to a sole proprietorship. Also there are 2-3 owners, so all the partners may be good in different fields, and so they can manage the firm more efficiently. But in partnership firm also we had disadvantage, because suppose a partner dies or he wants to leave the firm, then to replace that partner was a very tedious task. It was very cumbersome to resolve all the disputes, to retire a partner, to bring in a new partner. These procedures were very lengthy and very complicated. Next is even in partnership firm they had unlimited liability, in the sense that suppose the business runs into losses, though the partners will have to give their own private assets to pay off the creditors. Because of this advantages came the concept of company. In company there are lots of shareholders, so each shareholder, even if they give 100 rupees, ultimately all these 100 rupees will be pooled, and the amount of capital will be very huge. It will be in crores, it will be in hundreds of crores. Just that one person investing only 100 rupees, but when it is pooled together it becomes hundreds of crores of rupees. Next is that the liability is very limited. So what will happen, even if the business is running into loss, the liability of the shareholder is only limited up to the face value. That is, if the face value of the share is 10 rupees or 100 rupees, then even if the business runs into loss, the member will have to contribute only that 100 rupees. He is not expected to give more assets. So because of these benefits, the company system is now very much prevalent. Now, what is the basic thing which creates a company, or what is the basic element of a company? So the basic element of the company is share. Each shareholder or each member has shares, and through this shares they are given the rights, they are given the liabilities. So in this chapter we will be in the previous chapter we have already seen how these shares are allotted. Now one of the very important characteristic of share is that shares can be transferred from one person to another. So in this chapter we will be seeing share transfer and share transmission. Now share transfer is voluntary, share transmission is compulsory. That is the basic concept between these two wordings. Transfer is voluntarily, that is, a shareholder through his own will transfers his share to another person. He may get an amount against this person, or he amount against the share, or he may be giving the share as a gift. Whatever the case may be, this is a voluntarily act on the part of the shareholder, so it is a share transfer. Now, when the share transfer is compulsory, suppose the court has told that no, you will have to compulsory transfer your shares, or you will have to compulsorily sell your shares. Suppose the shareholder have died, and because a dead person cannot be a member, so his shares will be transferred to his nominee. This all circumstances are compulsory transfer, so it will be termed as transmission of share. Because it is compulsory, it becomes transmission of share. So first let us see the meaning of share transfer. So when a shareholder, in anticipation of approval by the company, voluntarily waives his title of shares in favor of other person, and when there is a transfer of title of shares, it is called transfer of shares. Now here you have to take care of certain aspects. First is when a shareholder, in anticipation of approval by company. Why are we writing in anticipation of approval by company? Because we have learned in the previous chapters also that there are some restrictions on the transfer of shares. These restrictions may be because it is a private company, and because of that the articles and the memorandum have put some restrictions on share transfer, or it may be because there are some unpaid calls. Unpaid calls and unpaid capital are very different things. Suppose the company has issued a share call, they have asked the shareholder to contribute suppose 3 rupees, and the shareholder has not paid that share call amount, then the board of directors can put a restriction on the transfer of shares. So there are certain conditions in which transfer of shares is not allowed, is restricted. Other than that, it will be allowed. So here the shareholder is hoping that yes, the company will allow, or the company will approve my transfer. So he is anticipating the approval by company. Next is voluntarily waives his title. So here the important word is voluntarily. And next is he is waiving his title, plus the other person, the purchaser or the receiver, he is getting the title. That is, the old shareholder's name will be removed from the register of members, and the name of the new shareholder will be added in the register of members, and the title will be transferred to him. Only then the entire process of share transfer is completed. Now let us see about the importance of share transfer. So we have already know that share is the basic element which creates a company. Now why is share transfer of shares from one shareholder to another shareholder is important? It is important for the current shareholder, that is the seller of the shares. It is important for the purchaser of the shares. It is also important to the government and to the country also. Now how is it important? Firstly, let's see the government. So whenever in a country, whenever you are doing any transaction, the government will get taxes, it will get fees. So whenever I am suppose at the time of purchase of shares, I had purchased a share of 200 rupees. At that time I will have to pay some stamp duty on that transaction. Now these shares I am selling it for 400 rupees. So on this 400 rupees transaction also I will have to pay some stamp duty. Other than that, I had purchased for 200 rupees, I am selling for 400 rupees, so I have a profit of 200 rupees. On this profit I will have to pay capital gains tax. So how the government is benefiting from this? Firstly, it is getting stamp duty because of the transaction, and secondly it is getting tax on the profit made by the shareholder or the seller. Next is that the shareholder, that is the current shareholder, will get cash. Now suppose because these shares are an asset. Now suppose I have a family emergency, I need lots of cash, then I cannot wait for the company to declare a dividend, because dividend is not a surety. it is not compulsory that the company's dividend will declare the dividend. It is not compulsory what is the amount of the dividend, and plus the dividend amount may be very low. I need a lot of money, so what I can do, because shares are my asset, I can sell these shares and get lot of money as and when I need it. So for the current shareholder, it is a source of cash at the time of sale. For the purchaser of the share also, it is beneficial because they will be getting a right of ownership. They have some extra money, the purchaser has some extra money, he can give this extra money and can buy an asset in the form of a share. This asset will give him a dividend. This asset will give him future market variation, future profits. So it is beneficial for the purchaser also. Next is the shareholder will be able to get the benefit of market variation or market changes. In the example we saw that he had purchased for 200, he is selling for 400. So this 200 difference of 200 is the market variation or market changes. Because of this, he got a profit of 200, he was able to increase his wealth. So he got that benefit. Next is the invested fund will be transferred from inefficient units to efficient unit. Now there is a company which is incurring loss. Now why would it incur loss? Probably because the management is not good, or maybe they are making some products which are obsolete, which are not working anymore. For example, there is a company who is making fax machines, and now we know that most of the people, no one is using fax machine. We are mostly using computers, emails. Now this company is not ready to shift from the fax machine. So what will happen? Obviously, no, they will not have any customers and they will be running into losses. So the shareholder, what will they do? They will withdraw their amount. They will sell all their shares and withdraw all their amount, and then invest that amount into a better company, in a company which is making more profit, which is doing more innovation, which has better prospects. So what is basically happening in the market? The inefficient unit, the money is being withdrawn from the inefficient unit where the management is bad to an efficient unit where the management is good. So it basically helps the overall development of the economy also. Next is that the share market and capital market will grow. Now how does the share market grows? When the prices of the share increases, that through that the share market will grow. And also because of the buying and selling, there will be a continuous circulation of cash in the market. The cash will continuously move from one hand to another hand. Because of that, the economy of the country will also grow. Now, seventh point is the free share transfer leads to increased span and scope of development of the company. Now, free share transfer does not mean that it is free of cost. Free transfer means it is free of restrictions. There is no restriction on the share transfer. If there is no restriction, then what will happen? The members can leave. If there is any unwilling member who does not want to remain a member, then he can easily leave, and new members who want to be a part of the company, they can come. And because of this, the company will keep on living, the company will keep on doing business, and they will do business in a better way. So it will be helpful for the life of the company also. Members, there are many cases even today where the founders of the company have died long back, but the companies are still existing. And that is because even though the people have died, the people who founded the company have died, the shares have been transferred from one person to another, so the company have continued to live on. What we'll do, we will study about the procedure of share transfer. Once we learn the procedure of share transfer, from that points we can derive the points for provision of share transfer and duties of the secretary. So first let us see the procedure of share transfer. In this, you have to take care that there are two types of shares as per your textbook, that there are physical shares and there are demat shares. So physical shares are paper share certificates. It is issued in paper. These share certificates were issued previously by the companies, and in this share certificate the name of the company and the registered address of the company, everything is mentioned. It has a seal or stamp of the company. It will mention the number of shares, the serial number of shares, and the name of the shareholder. So if the share certificate is saying that there are 50 shares, and in the serial number it will be written 15,001 to 15,050, and the value, face value of the share will also be mentioned. In the back side of the certificate you have space that whenever a share is transferred from one shareholder to another shareholder, the name of the new shareholder can be written in the back side of the share certificate. Demat shares, on the other hand, are electronic share certificates. So basically it is maintained completely in electronic form. There is no papers. And because there are no papers, so there are no chances of these shares. These shares will not be torn, they won't be damaged or lost. These shares are comparatively safe. Now most of the new shares, whenever you hear that IPO, any company is coming with an IPO, so those shares will be sold only in demat form. Old company used to issue in physical shares. Now physical shares are completely gone, and even now, and they actually, people have been instructed that all the physical shares have to be compulsorily converted into demat shares. So now all transactions have to be done through demat account, demat shares only. However, in your chapter we have been given about procedure of physical share transfer, that is physical certificate. So let's learn about it, because they have given it. Let's learn about it. So our first step is to obtain the share transfer form. Now where will you obtain this form? You can get it from the share broker, you can get it from the company of which shares you are holding, and you can get it from the stock exchange also. Next step is to fill up the share transfer form. So you have to fill all the details, your name, your address, how many shares you want to sell, and at what price you are selling these shares, and the share certificate number. And the third point is, along with the share transfer form, you have to attach your original share certificate. In case you don't have the share certificate, and because of any reason you have misplaced the share certificate or you have not received the share certificate, then you have to attach a letter of allotment of shares. What you have to do, the purchase, basically here the seller of the shares will give this form, will give the share certificate to the purchaser of the share, and the purchaser of the share will give it to the company. Now when the company receives this share transfer form and share certificate, they will give a transfer receipt. Transfer receipt is just an acknowledgement that yes, we have received your form. It is not an approval of transfer, it is just an acknowledgement that yes, we have received your form and now it is under process. After this, the company will send a notice of transfer. This notice will be given to both the seller and the purchaser. This is given because to avoid forgery. It may happen that because this is a physical process, so someone may have submitted a false share transfer form. Someone may have done any signature may be forged. So basically the company is giving a notice that we have received such form, share transfer form and share certificate. If you have any objection, if you have not applied for this, please contact the company immediately. So the seller and the purchaser actually gets 14 days to raise an objection after receipt of this notice. Now suppose within 14 days no one is raising an objection, company has not received any correspondence, then they will proceed further, the company will proceed further. They will make an entry in the share transfer register. In this register, whichever person have applied for the share transfer, irrespective of whether it is approved or rejected, that is secondary. First they have applied it, so it will be noted in the register. Next, whenever the board of directors will meet, in the meeting a resolution will be passed. In that resolution, this share transfer will be approved. Only after the resolution is passed will the share transfer will be considered as approved. Now once it is approved, the entry will be made in the register of members. That is, the name of the old shareholder will be removed and the name of the new shareholder will be added. After this, the purchaser has submitted the share certificate along with the share transfer form. So in this share certificate, what the company will do is, they will in the back side of the share certificate, they will do an entry that okay, this share is transferred from Mr. ABC to Mr. XYZ on 13 March 2024. So this entry will be done and this share certificate will be sent to the purchaser at their address. So this is the procedure for physical share transfer. Now next is partial share transfer. Suppose Mr. XYZ has 50 shares but he only wants to sell 20 shares. So what is the first step he'll do? He will submit a share certificate to the company. He will request the company that I want to sell 20 shares. So please divide the share certificate into two parts and issue me I am surrendering this share certificate and please issue me 2 new share certificate. In this new share certificate, he will receive one share certificate for 20 shares, another share certificate for 30 shares. After he receives the share certificate for 20 shares, he will do the entire process. He will fill the share transfer form, and with this share transfer form, he will attach this share certificate of 20 shares which he wants to sell. Rest all the procedures are common. Only one more procedure is added, that is, before he will have to surrender his old share certificate and ask the company to give him new share certificate for the number of shares he wants to sell. After this, we are seeing procedure for transfer of dematerialized shares, that is demat shares. In demat shares, what happens is, we have two depository participants, that is NSDL and CDSL. NSDL is National Security Depository Limited and CDSL is Central Depository Services Limited. These two depository participants, they will maintain demat account of everyone. So we see in ads, if your family members have demat account, you may be knowing that demat services are provided by many agencies. You have SBI Online, ICICI Direct, you have Zerodha, you have Grow. These all are just platform. They are not actually providing you demat account. Demat account is only provided by NSDL CDSL. But Zerodha, ICICI Direct, Sharekhan, these all are only platforms through which you can do the transaction. But in the back end, the demat account will be maintained by NSDL and CDSL. So what will happen when you are doing this transaction? You will sell at a price you want. The purchaser will purchase at the price which they want. There is no approval process for on the part of the company. You do not need to fill any form. You don't need to give anything to the company. The company does not have to approve any transaction in the board meeting. What will happen is, just this NSDL CDSL will give a link of a web page to the company, and in that web page the company can just watch that what is the name of their current shareholders. Only that information they can watch. There is no approval process. And what will these agents do? This stamp duty and brokerage, the agent is responsible to watch that proper stamp duty has been paid, proper brokerage has been paid, and the transactions have been properly conducted. Now we have completed with the procedure for share transfer. From this procedure, we can derive the provisions for share transfer. So in the procedure, we have seen that first step is to obtain and fill the share transfer form. So in the provision also, our first provision is share transfer form. That is, there is a prescribed form and it has to be filled properly. The names, addresses of the seller, purchaser, the signature of the witness, everything has to be done. Next is share certificate has to be attached with the share transfer form. Next is, if there is an unpaid call, if the company has called for share, if the company has made any share calls, if the company has asked to make any payments and the shareholder has not made any payment, then the transfer is not allowed. Next is objection application. we had seen that the company will give a notice to both the seller and purchaser, and in case any party have any objection, they have to give an objection application within 14 days. Next is satisfactory evidence. In this, what happens if I have filled a share transfer form, I have given the share certificate to the company, but there may have been some problem because of which the form has been misplaced or the share certificate has been misplaced. In that case, both the seller and the purchaser will have to sign a declaration and submit it to the company. So the company will consider their declaration, the company will consider their request, and even though they do not have that original share certificate, they may complete the remaining process. Next is lien rights. We had seen in the previous chapter also that if there is unpaid calls, if there is an unpaid capital amount, then the company does have some lien rights. Through this lien rights, the company may restrict the transfer of shares. So that has to be taken care of. Next is stamp duty. The government has prescribed the amount on which stamp duty has to be paid. For example, if it is transaction amount is of 5,000, you have to attach revenue stamp of 5 rupees. Like that, there is an incremental for 1 lakh rupees, you have to pay a stamp duty of 500 rupees. Like that, there is a different limits for which you have to pay different amount of stamp duty. So it has to be properly taken care of that necessary amount of stamp duty has been paid. If the necessary amount of stamp duty is not paid, then the transaction can be cancelled. Then the share certificate has to be issued to the new shareholder. The share transfer can also be rejected. Who can reject this? The registrar of company can reject it, or it can be rejected because of some court order. Next is the whatever provisions is given in the articles of association, those have to be taken care of. Whatever provision have been given, all those procedures have to be followed. In the register of members, the previous shareholder's name will be removed and the new shareholder's name will be added, and the previous shareholder's name will be continued till the board of directors have passed a resolution. The share transfer will be considered approved on the date of resolution only. Next is right of dividend. So the share transfer is approved on the date of a resolution by the board of director. So suppose a dividend is declared before the approval, then the old shareholder has the right to receive the dividend. If it is declared after the approval, then the new shareholder will get the dividend. Now, in the case of single person company, in single person company there is only one member. So because of that, that person cannot transfer his shares to another person. This transfer will happen at the time of the death of that single person. So what will happen is, in this case, the shares will be transferred to the nominee or to the heir, जो वारिस हम बोलते हैं ना, so it will be transferred to the nominee. In this case, nominee does not have to fill any share transfer form, he does not have to do any application. On the contrary, the board of directors will contact the nominee. They will say that because of this death, you are now being contacted and you are now, because you are the nominee, so now you will be the member, the one person member of this company. This nominee will get all the rights and all the liabilities which the original member had. Once this the name of this nominee is entered in the register of members, after that he will also have to form a nomination form. Now he is a member, so if anything happens to him, who will be the next member? So he'll have to fill a nomination form for this. Now lastly, let us see the duties of secretary. So duties of secretary is, firstly, he will have to verify the share transfer form whether it is authenticated. He will have to verify the share certificate whether this is original, it is not a forgery. Next is he has to verify that all the stamps and fees are already properly paid and less fees or less stamp duty has not been paid. Next is, in the form itself a witness may have signed, so the signature of the witness is also to be verified. When the company will receive the share transfer form, the company has to give a receipt. So it is the responsibility of the company secretary to give that receipt for transfer. Then he has to call for the board of directors meeting. He has to make sure that the resolution is passed for approval of the share transfer, and after that entry has to be made in the share transfer register, and also entry has to be made in the register of members. And for the share transfer, before the share transfer, we have to give a notice to both the seller and the purchaser with a time limit for 14 days. So that notice is also the responsibility of the company secretary. After the approval of the transfer, the company secretary has to prepare a new share certificate, and he has to send this new share certificate to the new shareholder. And he has also to take care that all the provisions of the articles of association has been met. So this is the order in which it is given in the textbook, but I would like to change this order. Just think of the procedure and change the order of the duties of the secretary. So our first step here would be to verify that all the provisions of the articles of association have been met. Second is to verify the share transfer form is correct, to verify that the share certificate is correct, to verify that the sign of the witness is correct, there is no forgery, to verify that adequate stamp duty has been paid, to verify that all other fees have been paid. After that, you have to give a receipt on at the time of receive. Whenever you are receiving the share transfer form, you have to give a receipt. So CS, it is the responsibility of the CS to give that receipt. After that, you have to give a notice to the seller and purchaser. So CS will do that. He will give the notice. After that, CS will make an entry in the register of share transfer. After that, CS will call for a meeting of board of directors and pass a resolution. After that, the entry will be made by the CS in the register of members. After that, the CS will update the share certificate, and finally the CS will send the share certificate to the new shareholder. So just change the chronology of these points to remember these better. Now the session is already quite long, so we'll see the transmission of shares in the next session. Thank you.